abstract expression. When I talk about the concept sex, what's your opinion? Sex for you, sir? You're saying male. Okay. About you, sex? Once, twice a week? So, when we talk about any particular concept and give it a name, then I can have so many different approach to conceptualize the thing I want to study. So sex can be viewed in so many ways. Maybe once a day, maybe as biological male and female, or maybe preferences. Only females, is it? Yes? Okay. So we can have so many different views about the concept. So how I want to see my concept, how I want to study it, when I want to study it, under what condition I want to study that concept, it will become changed in so many different ways. Say for example, I can use sex as biological sexes of being male and female. Can there be any individual who is born intersex? Not possible, is it not? So when I want to use the concept, the expression to become more and more stronger, I need to focus on my concept and the sub-concepts that is governing it. So when I look at any concept, say for example a triangle, it will be made up of 3 lines, is it not? And they will meet at their ends, making a closed figure. So total angle of internal sides of a triangle is how much? 180 always, is it not?
Yes.
So when I look at the concept triangle, it will have so many sub-concepts. And that will determine what I want to measure, what I want to study, in what way, under what condition. Alright? So that's mainly about the concept. And then I need that concept to be clearly defined. Even when I clearly define my concept, say I want to study sex, I want to study about the shape triangle, I may have this approach, other researchers may have that approach. That's why when I suggest books for my students, I'll always tell them, look into the foundation, theoretical foundation. Take at least 2-3 significant theoretical foundations on which the books are based. Then it becomes more clear to understand what I want to study or what I want to tell. So any concept will have to have a clear conceptual definition. I'll measure these parameters, those attributes, those sub-concepts. Once I can have it, still it remains too big. The work is too big to study sex in terms of biology, in terms of being in society, in terms of having sex as in intercourse. So even when I look at each of this angle, there will be so many different possible ways in which I can approach sex or the example triangle. So I will not be able to cover all the related concepts, the sub-concepts and their attributes. I'll have to confine my study within that parlance only. So we call this conceptual definition. So this is not still fully usable. This is what we usually highlight in our introduction, the theoretical foundations, the characteristics, the nature, the types. So I will not be able to encompass and study all of them. So I have to move on to operational definition. I will choose this angle, I'll choose those sub-concepts, those attributes only. Under that condition, under that situation, maybe in the laboratory or whatever control I want to exert. When I can fully specify that, then my study will become, so to say, quantifiable, analyzable. So whenever you begin your research topic, I want you to be very clear about what is the conceptual definition, how you restrict the study, what are the components, subconcepts, and attributes you want to study. We call this construct formation. And finally, I'll have limited attributes, limited subconcepts only under specific condition that will be studied. Then it becomes operational definition. So the moment my concept becomes operational definition, then we say, I have a variable for my study. So what actually is a variable? That is derived from a construct that scientists study. So basically we are also scientists here. So we want to do scientific study. Or maybe we want to do exploratory study. Maybe we want to do observation. Or maybe we want to quantify. Or maybe I want to do mixed research. So if I want quantified, quantitative research, or even if I want mixed research, I'll have to go to the level of variable being clearly defined. So variable is simply that restricted selection of attributes, subconcepts, conditions, and situations under which I will assign numerals, depending upon the differing orders of maybe the opinion, the attitude, the traits, other characteristics. So I can have different types of variables. Say when I look at sex, biologically I can have only two values, is it not? Male and female. But today in India, when they talk about sex as in gender, then we have what? The new term. The others, is it not? Male, female, others. And now they extended further and they talk about LGBTQ plus and S and so on. So we can view sex to only have a mere underlying two values or multiple of values. Then accordingly, we can look at different forms of variables. I may have only dichotomies, only two possible types, say teacher, non-teacher, researcher, non-researcher. Then I can have polytomies. Say for example like religion. It is complex, even in this room, is it not? It will not be less than 3 or 4 already. So it becomes polytomy. Then I may have continuous measurement that I want to take as variable, like many rating scales or what we call summated rating scales, like intelligence, anxiety, your height, your weight, maybe your body proportion based upon your hips, your waist, your chest. So many measurements can be done. So I can have different types of variables. Am I too much in a hurry? Because I come with quite a number of slides, considering I'm having 190 minutes, but that was shortened to 80. And with the introduction, it comes to 75 only now. So I can be faced with so many different types of variables, but the second one is the one we are to focus on today. It is the dependent variable. It is that variable we measure. All right? See, in researches, I may take independent variable. We say independent variable is the variable that is manipulated by the scientist or the researcher. I can manipulate my independent variable, but I cannot manipulate. And I don't have the right to manipulate my dependent variable, because it is that variable that will be measured, making from concept to conceptual definition, construct formation, and finally operational definition. I need to make it a variable that will become dependent. And that is the variable we'll focus today. So we can have so many other types of variables depending upon the classification or the nomenclature that I choose. So now the question is, why do I measure? Maybe I want to see the situation that makes this, that opinion, that attitude, that values. Or maybe I want to see what condition brings about such things. Or maybe the context. So based upon the situation, condition, or context, I need to do measurement. Alright? So, in core sciences, we used to have the units of, specific units of measurement. So we call it maybe metric system, standard international unit or the SI unit, the centimeter gram second CGS system, or the foot pound second, that is done in the Commonwealth, that is FPS system. And say for example, I want to see, we are all from social sciences. Okay, how many of us are from sociology, please? Raise your hand. Sociology, only 2. Okay. Please tell me, what is the unit of study of sociology? What does sociology study as a unit? Because unit becomes very important. I want to measure it. What is the unit of study in sociology? Okay, I know there. I have my students there. Psychology. Tell me, what is the unit of study in psychology? Please. The unit of study in psychology is?
Behavior, emotion.
The individual. In sociology?
Society.
Society. Then any other discipline? Anthropology, economics. Okay, very good. Anthropology, what's the unit of study of anthropology? It's culture.
And tribes?
Along what continuum? Along what continuum?
Along what continent means
Studying culture, you will be simply like sociology.
no, sir.
How, what makes you
Okay,
different?
anthropology is the study of man. Anthro means man and
Mm.
logos means study. Study of man. Basically, the
Mm.
man is dealing with
The man
yeah, society and culture.
along the continuum of time. Is it? So, we will always have specific unit of study. And we need to adhere to that when we make concept, constructs, and variables, or operational definitions. So, okay, madam, have you gone to a tailor? And when you ask them to prepare a top for you, what do? They measure you. If it is your exact measurement of the shoulder, the bust, the hip, the waist, and the hips, will you be happy? Will you be happy? Huh? I'm not getting on. Female tailor. No. The top that is stitched by the tailor, if it is the exact measurement of your shoulder, your bust, your waist, and your hips, will you be happy? Will you be happy? The exact measurement? Really?
So
Will you really be happy?
that will be tight and fit.
Yeah.
That will not be so good.
And how will you put it on?
Yeah.
And then, when they make that right amount of error, the right amount of error, then it fits, it covers what should, that needs covering, is it not? And it will expose the area that needs to be exposed, and you become very happy because they make the perfect error. So, what is the objective of measurement? Why do we measure? Yeah, to have the best error. Very good, very good. To have the best error, because no matter how many times you measure this from this world to that world, depending upon the different measurement units, your outcome will become different. Measure it 100 times, 1,000 times, your outcome will become different. But when you do multiple measurements, you'll be able to make out what is the best error. That's why we want to measure in scaling. Because as long as we're human beings, we'll never get the truth out of measurement. Only that is possible with God. So I will not talk so much about that part. So measurement simply is the correlation of numbers with entities that are not numbers. Is it not? Your chest, your hips is not numbers. But we measure around it with that measuring tape, and we get the numbers, maybe in centimeters, in inches. Yes, madam, what is your weight? In quintal? Come on, tell me your weight in quintal.
Half quintal.
Half quintal. Yours is 2 quintal. If somebody used that unit, which is not appropriate, now we are smiling, we are laughing. And we need to do that in our research. We need to use the appropriate unit of measurement. So every measurement is with error. There will always be true component. There will always be true component. When I measure something, the outcome of my measurement, if I make it in terms of percentage, the truth will not be 100%. Because my measurement sometimes will be more than the actual, sometimes lesser. And it will fluctuate in between. And by the end, when I take that average, then it will give me the best estimate of the error. That is why we keep talking about the central tendency, the mean, standard deviation. All those measures of central tendency, we use it. Say, for example, in psychology, we are satisfied with the mean. But in physics, they may go to hyperbolic mean. They'll go to advanced level of central tendency, depending upon the person that is needed. Of course, that is with variability also. No, I may be satisfied with range alone. I may be satisfied with standard deviation. And I may want to go beyond. So every measurement comes with error. And there are 2 types of error. One that is systematic. Okay? So we don't want that. We don't want the systematic error. We want to do away any systematic error when we are encountering it in our research. Say for example, your physical weight device is giving you 67 when you are feeling like you are 65. And if it constantly gives you 67. And on other correct device, you found yourself 65. That type of error in our measurement device is called systematic error. It will simply measure one group more or one group less as a whole. And that basically is inflation or deflation of any measurement consistently is bias. So we don't want that. My instrument, my measurement device, my tool, I need to refine it, I need to tune it, I need to correct it. Then the other error is always there. Because that human error, we measure situations, conditions, context, and my measurement outcome will always vary. Imagine the railroad, the track. There are joints on the railroad, on the tracks, is it not? There are always gaps. Why do they put the gaps? Do you know, on the railroad? Why do they put the gaps?
The railroad will sometimes expand.
Sometimes it expands, sometimes it contracts. If the gap is there, it will prevent the expansion and derailing. But if it is shorter, and being much shorter, the rail will still run straight and smooth, and there won't be any derailment. So there will have to be many ways in which I will have to make the necessary correction. So, condition, situation, context will result in what they call noise or random errors. The gaps between the railway track they are making will not always be the same, but it will just be enough so that there won't be derailment when there is expansion of the track. That's why we need to make the best error. And that is what we call random error. And they are inevitable. And they will always be part of our measurement outcome. Now let us move on to, so this is about random error. I'll not elaborate much. So this is what can happen. Imagine when the errors is more or less only of random error, we can view the curve upstairs. My distribution may be a little bit changed, but it will not alter the result. But when my measurement error is systematic, just like the red and the blue being the correct one, and red being deflated one. Or I may have inflated measurements as well systematically. So when such a situation arises, it becomes very troublesome. And especially in psychology, we are very keen to not deflate the outcomes of our measurement. Because when we look at human abilities, imagine the ability to hear. Your ability to hear may begin around 20 decibels. Below that, you will not be very good. Above 70, it will be too noisy. It will be too loud. So we are basically equipped between 20 to 70. And I need to have my measurement tool tapping that area. Sometimes the tool we develop, I may say I am developing a questionnaire, a survey question. I may say I am developing a scale. The scale may become too restrictive or too lenient. And sometimes, just like my measurement outcome to be the blue curve, it may become a red curve. Then I will not hit my target. I will not hit the bullseye for my research. So that is what we call systematic error, and we want to control or rectify or tune the instruments the best way we could. So let me tell you about one example. You know, for one of our research, we want to measure anxiety amongst the Mizo population. And we use two types of tools. One that is developed abroad, and one that is developed in India. So then what we come to learn is that for the ones that is developed in India, all the Mizos are roughly average or below average. But when we use the tool that is developed from abroad, they are more or less well spread. High, average, low. So what we come to understand is that when you are traveling, anybody coming from Delhi via Calcutta or Guwahati to Mizoram, have you ever traveled? Imagine the pace of life in Delhi. Then it slows down. When you come to Guwahati and Kolkata, then when you are about to land amongst the bamboos, then life becomes very slow. Is it not? The pace of life. So that is the anxiety level of the Mizo. And the ones that is developed in the plain, the pace of life is too fast. So all the Mizo are measured average or below average. And it is not measuring or differentiating the Mizo well. So we prefer the tools that is developed abroad. So when I do my research, I need to take care of that as well. So there are so many different approaches to reduce measurement. Say I can do pilot study. I may use jury while collecting my data and train them thoroughly. I may carefully check and double check my data, clean the data, screen the data, process the data correctly. Then finally, we usually use multiple measures of the tool to measure the same concept or construct, so that I will be able to justify that my measurement outcomes are more or less appropriate. And it is measuring between the lower chest fold and the upper chest fold. So now, based upon different types of the different levels of measurement, I can have different types of scales as well. I suppose you are familiar with this. Scaling, nominal. Oh, I'm so sorry. A mistake. Where is it? So that part I'll skip, I'll just use this. I can have 4 types of levels of measurement. And my scaling may be based upon any of these 4 types. Okay? At the lowest level, we have what we call nominal level scale. This level of scale only measure attributes based upon their identity. When I ask you, madam, are you male or female? Female. Which is better, being male or female? Being female. And you will say what, sir? Male. So, there is no way, when I put them on a physical balance, I give 1 to female, I give 2 to female, it simply identifies them separately. There is no magnitude. There is no direction when I measure male or female. Okay? Okay, after the lunch, who is in time for the session? Who is in time for the session and who is not in time?
Not in.
So, you don't miss much, is it not? Anyhow, in the end. But I can use that to identify who is in time and who is not. So, basically, it simply identifies them. We call this nominal level measurement. Okay? So, I suppose you are all familiar with examination outcomes. Have you ever stood first position? Maybe. And who is the second positioner? Imagine the third positioner. This year, the first positioner get 80%. Next year, they'll have to get 82%. Am I correct? Not necessarily. It is based upon the marks of the other students, is it not? So this year, somebody is 80. Second is 77. Third is 72% in terms of their position. But their position is first, second, and third, is it not? The gap is not meaningful at all. Between the first position and second position, there are 3 gaps in terms of percentage. But the second and the third is different again. So there is no consistent gaps. When I take rank, when I take position, you are sitting on the first row, they are on the second row. Am I audible to you all? So it's, even though you are on the first row, we may think you are attentive. But the third row, that guy may be more attentive. So it is simply ordinary position that we occupy when we look at examination positions and ranks. So there is no meaningful differences. But there is magnitude, isn't it? Being first is always best. Being second is always best to being third, at least, but not being first. So they occupy certain position, but that position is not fixed by any means in time or in comparison with other positions. So we call this ordinal level measurement. They occupy only ordinary position. And thirdly, we have what we call the interval level measurement. This is more like temperature, which will be called 33 degree in Kolkata and 33 degree in Delhi, which will be called. Have you been to Delhi?
Yes, sir.
And Kolkata? And have you been to Guwahati? Okay. 33 in Guwahati, 33 in Delhi. Which will be warmer? Delhi?
Same.
33-degree temperature. Which will be warmer?
So body, humidity.
See, the question is containing two parts. It talks about the temperature, the degree of the temperature. But the other question is which is warmer? That is about individuals' experiences. And he was saying there is humidity. Is it not? So when we take interval level measurement, it will always be based on the context, situations, and conditions under which it is measured. So many interval level measurements like temperature, they are also dependent on other conditions. And we call them interval level measurement. But compared to ordinal level measurement, first, second, third, which is not having any meaning except difference in magnitude. Now the difference, the gap, and the range of the differences in terms of temperature, 33 and 35, 35 and 37, the differences becomes meaningful. Okay? But this is also devoid of something. Have you ever touched anything having no temperature? Is there zero temperature? Minus is also there, zero is there. So something having 0-degree temperature is having no temperature?
So
Yeah?
zero is a value.
No, there is zero degree, okay? There is 0 degree in terms of centigrade, Fahrenheit, or Kelvin, or Celsius. There are 0 degrees. But those 0 degrees still are having temperature, is it not? Somebody is dead and they touch, there is no temperature. He is dead. But still, when I touch that dead body, it's cold. Temperature is there. It's cold. So, interval level measurement is devoid of true zero and true end. How hot will it be on the surface of the half kilometer on the surface of the sun and inside the sun? There is no definite end. There is no definite beginning when we measure something at interval level. So we may develop tools, scales, measurement instruments, maybe at the interval level. That's how they develop temperature measurement. That's how they develop intelligence tests, many psychological tools. Then finally, we have ratio level measurement. In the examination, there are 10 maths questions. Sir, you correctly solved 9 of them. How much will be your score? 1 mark each, 10 questions. You solve correctly 9 questions. How much mark will you get? 9. Ma'am, you solve all of them. How much will you get? 10. What error will you commit? What error will you commit in solving the maths problem? 0. So certain measurements have true zero, and we call them ratio level measurement. I may develop tool, tests based upon such measurement. If successful, it is 1. If unsuccessful, it is 0. And the 0 becomes meaningful. But the 0 below this, even at the interval level, they are only arbitrary. Just like the temperature, 0 degree. So based upon my level of measurement, I leave this slide with you, so forget about it. So based upon my level of measurement, the statistics, the mathematics, the analysis I can do becomes different. And accordingly, you will be having different statistical applications. When we are evaluating tests, from different parts of different universities. First thing we are very keen about is, are they doing the right measurement? Are they doing the right, using the right tool for measurement? Are they using the right tool for statistical analysis? Then, so there are prescribed statistical tools for nominal level data. I'll be leaving the slide with you, please don't be worried. For ordinal level data, and anything above interval level or ratio level, the interval and ratio level, we consider them scale data. Alright? So our topic today is scaling. When your measurement is at nominal or ordinal, it does not qualify for scaling. Alright? So for scale data, so once I generate my variable from a concept and make it a variable, then for such variable, I may use this different method that is prescribed for scale level data. So at the outset, why do we use multiple item scales? So in the beginning, I was talking about triangles, is it not? It is about the sides that is made up of lines. The length of the lines becomes important. Is it the same? Is it different? How much is the differences? They will determine the angles of the triangle, is it not? So whenever I want to measure a concept and make it a variable, I need to thoroughly look into the concept itself, the sub-concepts that's available within that, and the attributes that make up the sub-concepts. Then only will my measurement tool to become a scale will become usable. So René's Likert first begin with Likert scale. I suppose you all are very familiar with Likert type of scale. Normally it range from strongly disagree to strongly agree, and there is neutral in between. I may have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points Likert scale. So Likert began this in 1932. And when I look at one Likert scale, so imagine this. Imagine you have a Likert scale of 1 to 5, okay? And when your Likert scale, for that scaling, when you can have 5 attributes or 5 subcategories that is measured, then that is when we begin to have multiple item scales. Say the attribute of the lines, the angles, alright? The length of the lines. When I measure different attributes within my concept, then that will generate me multiple item scales. So imagine I have a tool that is having 5 items, and it is scored from 1 to 5, Likert scale. Okay? What will be the maximum possible score? Come on. I have 5 Likert item scale. And what will be the maximum possible score if somebody scored 5 on all the 5 items? Yes? 5?
25.
When you add them, it becomes 25. If somebody scored 4 on all items,
60. 20.
20. And if somebody scored 1 only on all the items, 5. So when I sum items together based upon the attributes or the subcategories they measure, my initial ordinal level Likert scale can be considered approximate interval scale. That's why many scaling tools use multiple items. And it is always more or less necessary. I'm quite good with tapping the keys and they jump. So we can have so many different types of Likert items with multiple items, because summing the possible scores becomes meaningful, and I'll be able to approach interval level measurement. All right? We call this approximately interval level measurement when I have multiple summated item scores. So, for any rating scale, as mentioned, it will have to have multiple items. And when we sum them together, it will put us along a continuum. Imagine that 5 Likert scale item. It ranged from a score of 5 to 25. I can make meaningful differences, ranges in between. So it approximate interval. So I can develop Likert tool in this way. So what will make a good scale? I suppose you have come across reliability. If your weighing device is giving you 65 today, tomorrow 66, next day 64, will it be reliable? No. It will have to give me consistent measurement outcomes. And there are so many ways with which we can determine if my measurement tool is reliable or not. Alright? So it will have to be consistent. It will have to be reliable. Then also it will have to be valid. Have you heard about validity? Okay, what are the different ways we can build validity? Come on, anybody? Validity. Will you make a valid wife? Will he make a valid wife? Will he make a valid wife? No. So what makes her a valid wife and him not? Because it is prescribed based upon your sex or your gender. Is it not? So, when I want to measure something, my measurement tool will have to exactly measure that continuum I want to measure. Sometimes many research fail in this. They say I measure anxiety, but they measure anxiety coupled with depression. Okay? They say I measure political experiences, but they will measure chronological differences as well. How will I partition out the things I don't want to measure? That is determined with the different means with which we determine validity. Construct, content, criterion validation. Okay? Have you heard about that? Oh, I didn't mention here, but somewhere in the slide I type it in capitals. Construct, content, criterion validation will help me rule out any extrapolation or interpolation, commissions or omissions in my measurement, and it will validate my measurement tool. Oh, where are we? I'm having only 30 more minutes, is it? So this is the steps that we can follow when we are to develop scale, or what we call rating scale. Okay? So let's see the diagram. We need to define the construct carefully. Then design the scale. Then we need to do pilot tests, administration item analysis, and validate and develop the norm. So we need to follow this. So about definition of the construct, making it finally available, I hope we are clear with it. Then I want to see the design of my scale. Here many are confused. A student will come and say my questionnaire. Another will say my scale. Another will say my schedule. Another will say this is my index. So there are so many different types of scaling methods and techniques. Okay? Can you tell me the difference between, anybody who can tell me the difference between a survey question and a questionnaire? Yes? Survey question and a questionnaire, what is the difference?
Survey population, where questionnaire is shortlist, like chosen. It's not
No, it's like you're trying to say it is on the tip of my tongue, is it?
Questionnaire is responded by the respondent by themselves.
What? Questionnaire is responded by the respondent themselves.
Yes.
Yes.
Then survey is what you ask them and you're the one who's taking. The interviewee have to respond the questions.
But they will come with the same outcome. Is it not? You ask them and you note them down. You give them and they note them down. You will get the same outcome. But there are fine line of differences between survey and questionnaire. Survey and scale. Tests, index, schedules, inventories, batteries. There are so many ways in doing scaling. Yes? Only survey and questionnaire. Yes, still trying to time that. Is it? Please.
So my mind is processing.
Come on.
Survey, like national survey, no? Census, we do, we take everyone. And in questionnaire.
And the focus is where? Focus of survey is where?
To the topic like population.
Yes, on the population. The focus of survey is on the population and its characteristics. But questionnaire is on the individual and their characteristics. And I may have jumbled questions in many different patterns, in multiple ways, in both survey and questionnaire. But say in many scales, I'll have uniform scales. And scales will measure different attributes, as we mentioned earlier, or it will cover all possible subcategories. When I don't have time to do that, I may make it an index. I may make it a bulletin, bullets. I may make it a schedule. All right? So, when you are faced with your research attempt and when we want to quantify, please do remember what kind of measurement tool is this? What is the intended use? Will it really tap between the upper threshold and the lower threshold? If not, you will fail. Have you seen anybody selling milk with a ruler? No. They use that appropriate one, is it not? The milk can. Is it not? Then, do you measure tables with milk or milk can? No. You measure them with?
Separate.
Or maybe a foot rule or a measuring tape. Is it not? So, when you are planning to choose your tool, please be thorough. Will it really measure what I want to measure? All right? So then, there are so many things we can talk about this. This part, I will just keep steps in the scale construction, increasing reliability, designing the scale. I may ask if they are in agreement or not. I may ask how they evaluate themselves in that situation, in that condition, in that context. So the situation, the condition, the context for any scale becomes important. Or I may ask the frequency, is it not? Okay. Yes. How many cups do you normally have when you drink? Only one, thank you. And there? Yes, yes. One cup only. One cup. No, liquor. How many cups do you normally take or attack? Or is it ml in terms of 30, 60, 90? How many do you take normally for one that you are satisfied? 2 or 3? Usually it's less, is it? 4, is it? So sometimes frequency, duration, amount, intensity will be measured. What exactly do my tool measure? If I don't know, how will I interpret? How will I discuss and make my conclusion? How will I write my limitations? And how will I justify myself? So I need to see what kind of measurement. What measurement is done, from what angle, how it is measured, under what condition, situation, and context. That I'll have to be very clear. Then, when we write the items, maybe if I want to develop a tool myself, a scale myself, so it will have to express one and only one idea. Then I'll have to mix the positive and negative worded items. So we'll need to avoid any jargons, extra expressions, or maybe double barreled questions. So we need to take care of all these different things. Then the next important thing is the instruction, the conditions, the guidelines for responding to that scale I develop. Because some scale will have to respond very quickly. Some scale doesn't matter if I take long time also. If I take long time, some scales may result in bias. And normally, any scale is developed with 2 important assumptions. Number 1, independence of the item scores. Okay? So when we say independence of the item scores, I should not be cross-referencing any 2 or more items. Then there is also the independence of individual scores. If your tool is supposed to be answered by her and if she get help, will you trust your measurement outcome? Do you get my question? You have your, what do you use for your research work?
Basically qualitative observations and participant.
Okay, observation. You trained her and she is to observe some characteristics. She asks somebody else. Will you trust their observation outcomes? No. So, many tools based upon the instruction will provide the condition, context and situation under which it can give correct measurement. And we need to follow the guidelines and the instruction. And when I develop my tool, I need to be very careful about that. Say for example, some tool, some scale that is having 60 questions may have to be completed within, say, 30 minutes. You will be pressurized to complete so that you will have to give the response of whatever comes first in your mind. Some tool does not necessarily require that. So we need to be very careful about the instructions as well of our tool, or if we are developing one. The next very important thing is item analysis. Here I put the formula, forget about those jargons, okay? They are all simply symbols. Forget about them. This is what I want you to see, okay? So in item analysis, it is very important. There are two very important things. Item difficulty. In the examination, okay, the question is so difficult, 80% fail. Will the question test the students well? No. If the question is so easy and 80% answered correctly, will it clearly evaluate the students? No. So item difficulty, is it too easy? Is it too difficult? Or is it appropriate enough? Will have to be considered. And then the other thing is item discrimination. Do you remember I was talking about the lower threshold and upper threshold? If my tool only hit the lower half or the upper half or only a small portion of the middle, then it will not differentiate whatever I want to measure well. Then my tool will not become very good. Okay? So there are many advanced tools and methods and techniques. And I think it may not be the scope for everyone. So I'll not dwell upon that. There are differential item functions analysis, there are rush models. There are so many analysis techniques for this. And if I cannot go to that level, then at least it is always good when I begin developing any tool to consider item difficulty, item discrimination based upon at least a focus group discussion of, say, the prospective beneficiaries, whom I will measure. Okay? So in that focus group discussion, I'll have to have at least a group that belongs to people who I will measure, or the group that I will measure. Then the stakeholders, who are governing them, who are helping them out. All right? And finally, outside. Somebody from outside, the jury, who will justify that, yes, this is the situation and condition for the beneficiary. And this is how the jury are looking after, the stakeholders are looking after them. And they will serve as the moderator. So this is what we call triangulation. It becomes very important in item analysis for triangulation. You know, many researchers, they'll just come and say, will you just validate my tool? Then I will say, you know, they'll just come and give me their tools. Sir, please help me validate this. In my opinion, it may be good. But for the actual targeted population, will it really measure them well? How will I know? I may be good in research. I may be good in that topic, but I don't know the population. How will I be able to judge? Is it not? So my focus group discussion will have to be composed of the stakeholders, the beneficiaries, and jury. This is what we call triangulation. And this is always expressed numerically and statistically. We put this in what we call the normal ogive. Okay? Can you see the blue line? So the blue line may represent when the question is too easy. Okay? Everybody excel in general. Whereas when you look at the green line, then very few people pass, many fail. So I want something like that yellow line. Alright? That spread well. That S-shaped curve is what we call the normal ogive. And I can plot my item difficulty as well as my item differentiability in this way, then I'll be able to know which item I can include for my research and which item I can exclude for my research. See, any tool developed, any measurement instrument developed here and there, I cannot just use it without determining its reliability and validity in my population. See, do you know that they used to say the wall clock that oscillates with pendulum? You buy one in Delhi, bring it to Aizawl. Will it give you correct time? No idea. Anybody? Will it give the same time? Really? You bring it from Delhi to Aizawl? Okay, some says no. Why? Why no?
So based on standard time, it might provide, but actually, though, it is not. It will not provide.
Will it give the same time in Delhi and same time in Aizawl?
So based on standard timing, yes.
Really? Why not? Yes, it will not give correct time between Delhi and Aizawl. Why not? Because the length of the pendulum and its oscillation is dependent upon the altitude. Do you get it? Tool that they developed there, without testing, if I use here, it is just like giving free condoms in Aizawl. Do you get it? In many well-to-do countries, they have sex openly. They enjoy every now and then. They need free condom. That's why it works very well to prevent the spread of HIV. In the population where sex is restricted, people do it less. The condom approach doesn't work well. Same way, by that same vein, your tool developed elsewhere needs to be tested. Again, just like the pendulum clock both in Delhi, brought to Aizawl, due to the change in altitudes and the atmospheric pressure, I need to fine-tune the pendulum. Then it will only give me same time in Delhi and in Aizawl. Same thing I have to do with my tool, no matter from where I get it or even if I develop. I have to check it. So this is what I was talking about. It may shift to the lower end, it may shift to the upper end. I need to be very careful about the differential threshold, the lower limit, the upper limit, the optimal condition. That's why people keep talking about distribution. I need to check the distribution of my measurement outcome. So this is more or less the end of it. I need to develop the norm for the tool, okay? Just imagine, one tool is developed, say in one country in Europe, and I brought it to India, and I want to use that tool. I need to check its reliability and validity. The reliability and validity being fine, still I need to see, is the norm correct? Is the norm, say for example, if my tool is designed and I want to see if there are male and female differences between those on that tool, because it is developed in Europe. Now I brought it to India. Will the gender norm there work here? I need to check it again. That is why understanding the norm becomes very important. So people use STEM scores. Okay? Any possible minimum maximum score, they make it an interval of 10. And they call it STEM scores. Okay? So is the norm STEM scores? Where is my measurement outcome? relative to say, on a scale of 10, where is my measurement outcome? Is it near about that blue line? Is it going inflated? Is it going deflated? Is it about the blue line? I need to check it on that 10 score. Alright? Then I'll be able to correctly interpret my research outcome. Then, oh, I'm sorry, that is black. Okay, last one is black. So we have also percentile scores. So I suppose we know what is the maximum in terms of percentage? 100. So any possible score, it may range when we make it from 0 to 100. We call it percentile score. And based on that, sometimes they use what they call quartile scores. Quartile scores meaning every 25th percent interval may be taken. And some use age norms, some use sex norms, some use group norms. Is my culture and the culture of development of the tool having more or less the same consideration for sex, age, groupings? Alright? So I have to see that. So that is basically scaling types and techniques I can talk about today. Now, how much time do I have? Almost over, is it? Yeah. This is the last slide. You want me to go to any particular slide or any question? Yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Quality of life of tribal older persons. Okay. Who is older person? Okay. What you say is older person is 60 and above. My dad says, you know, who is older is 80 plus. Elderly. Okay, what is your foundation to say that they are elderly? Do I belong there? So you say you look elderly. Okay, okay. So you want to study about people who are having higher chronological numbers in terms of age.
My question is that I have chosen this WHO quality of life scale.
Okay. WHO QL. Yes.
So it has 100 scoring, but that is only for one objective.
Hmm.
So I have 3 more objectives, which are like it will consist again of another 200. So it's like asking those questions to every individual person, so they might be tired, so they might not be able to answer. So I want to reduce that scale. Soft scale is there, but guide is not satisfied with that.
WHO QL 100 item.
Yeah, 100 items.
Okay, you are going to torture the elderly, is it? Well, framing the research question, do you consider consult your supervisor?
Yeah, I'm consultant means like he wants me to go for a pilot study. So like, right now I'll be going for.
See, you can do one thing, okay?
So I'm just asking some idea of like.
Yeah, because you know that is dependent upon sampling. So to torture a large number of elderly is not very wise for PhD student, is it not? Since it will have to be based upon sampling. You take sample, maybe randomly. Don't torture 100, don't torture 200. Sample size of 40 or more. 40 plus is more than enough. Alright? Take any good sampling method and take 40 samples. Okay? Say for example, for a population of about 10 lakhs, a sample size of 376 or 80 is more than enough. If you go to 1000, the error you commit may be lesser by 1%. Is it worth it? To increase the sample from roughly 80 to 1000, and if your error, it will always be there anyhow, is only improved, your precision is improved by only 1% or less. Is it worth to study 1000 instead of studying 80? So my suggestion is take a small sample. You'll get the intended outcome anyway. Am I answering your question? A little bit. What part is not clear, majorly?
Regarding that, if I want to reduce the number of items, so compared to short version is.
But you still torture the same number of people. That's why I was trying to talk about sampling. But if you are reducing it, if you are good in scaling, okay, I'll leave this slide. If you are really good in scaling, you can reduce. Many tools are developed with short form. And if you can do that, I think it will really help. Or if you can get help to reduce it, reduce the sample, and reduce the number of items. And I hope that will help. But you'll have to have both the technique. You'll have to know both the technique. It takes 25 plus years of working on it. But if you can help, if you can get help, I think reduce the sample and take lesser number of items, it will help. Okay, anything else? Come on. Oh, presentation is too vague, so there's no question. Is it?
Sir, one more question. If we reduce the sample size, like how it is, how will we justifying methodology?
If I was telling you, you choose a particular sampling method and follow that. Do you still follow the justification?
Yes, sir.
Yes? Okay, I'll hand it over to whoever is the abstract expression. When I talk about the concept 6,